This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Yes, the Wolf Pack has been unleashed, and we are at the KSDT CPA offices here in Daneland. The question is, Cam Wolf, why aren't you here with us at the KSDT CPA offices since you are sponsored by KSDT?
I didn't get an invite. All I needed was an invite. I didn't get an invite.
Right.
Nobody told me the party was going on up there.
Next month, we'll get you the invite, and you can come on over. And don't worry about, because, I know you Broward people. You think you need a passport to come down here. You don't, okay? Just get off on the Palmetto on Kendall Drive. You'll be fine, Cam.
Hey, man, Big O, with the way gas prices are, the only time I'm going down to Miami is if I'm staying there.
Oh, well, hey, listen, we're in their kitchen, which is about 3,000 square feet.
Right.
You can stay here, bro. There's plenty of space here, okay? Seriously, like a 3,000 square foot kitchen they have here because they have like 150 employees. I mean, it's just, it's an amazing company. Anybody would want to work for these guys. They just a great atmosphere, great vibe here at KSDT. All right, so are you feeling the vibe? Because I'm getting some negative vibes over Dolphin fans out there, and we're only 5 days into this thing. So, how do you look at it? Are people overreacting? Are they impatient? How would you view what they're doing so far?
Yeah, I think everybody was waiting for the big fish, right? So everybody was. I think that's probably why there's a sense of disappointment because the Dolphins have been active, as we said in the process. They were going to be active. They were going to be spending money. They've been active. They've spent money. They've certainly done all of that, but they haven't landed maybe that big fish, particularly on that offensive tackle spot. So I think that's probably why there's a little bit of antsiness, some anxiety from Dolphins fans of like, we really can't run back this same offensive line with Connor Williams as the only addition, can we? So I think that's probably the feel there. I do think they made their team better. They helped the running attack quite a bit, getting a couple running backs. I think Connor Williams obviously going to be a starter wherever they slot him in, guard or tackle. I think guard makes more sense, but they haven't rolled out tackle. And then you got to look at some of the elements they've done as far as bringing Cedric Wilson in, Teddy Bridgewater, who I know you love, and they ran it back on a few of the defensive guys. So I think there's been a lot of mid-tier moves, kind of building a roster move, but not necessarily any splashes. But if you remember, last year, even the year before, they've swung and missed on a lot of big splashes. Eric Flowers was a big splash. Will Fuller was a big splash. Byron Jones, who is still on the roster, but people would have questions about.
He's done a good job, dude. He doesn't get burned for a bunch of touchdowns or anything. He's done a good job, bro.
You think his salary is worth what they're paying him?
It's free agency.
It is.
You're screwed. It doesn't matter. Whoever you get, the Ogbos of the world, bro. That's few and far between that you end up getting a steal and bargain. And so now you're paying his salary the way he's supposed to be. So to me, that's why you don't really want to live off of free agency. The problem is the Rams have now influenced everybody and then fans too. And they think that that's the panacea to all of this. And I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I think they're more the aberration than actually the norm in the NFL. But that's the drug right now. That's what everybody's getting drunk on right now. So that's what's going on. Now, let me ask you something. I believe they're in the running for the big fish. Mm-hmm. And I think they've kind of set the table, and it's either Treader or one of these tackles. But I think that's what they're trying to do. I think that's the icing on the cake here in the free agency part. So whether it's Armstead, whether it's Trent or Leal or JC Treader, I think they're going to try to land one of those guys. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I mentioned it on TV, but I don't think they're done. From what I'm told, that they are still going to want to add at least one other starter. The whole element of it being a big fish or not, I think it's going to be depending on what decisions some guys make. So I think Dolphins fans have to be a little bit realistic with themselves and knowing that a lot of the teams they're competing with may be further along in the contending stage than they are. So you're competing with players who, simply put, may think that the team that they're looking at may be better position to win than the Dolphins. So if you're looking at a Teron Armstead, for example, the Dolphins have interest in him. And so the problem is his priority, people have been learning, is he would love to go back to New Orleans, especially if they get Deshaun Watson and team up with that. So he's waiting out to see if that happens. So in a sense, even if the Dolphins are offering him some great offer, he's essentially telling you that that would be my second or my backup choice.
Right. So we're hoping
out.
Watson goes to Atlanta, right? So then they have a shot for Armstead, correct?
Right. So I don't think he wouldn't follow Deshaun to Atlanta. So New Orleans would be the only spot for Armstead. They would try to make it work if they did sign him. I guess they could try to make it work even if they don't sign him, but then that becomes a little bit more complex. So he's waiting for that move, and New Orleans would be the only spot there. So that's the situation with Teron Armstead, but it's a guy who was drafted by that team, who wants to play there. So you say, oh, well, Chris Greer is not being aggressive enough. Well, I don't know if there's anything more they could have done to not have Teron Armstead not want to go back to where he's from. And then the La'el Collins situation, that's a situation where aggression is going to be interesting because the Dolphins are interested in him. They had some trade conversations, but they decided that we are going to be more interested if he gets released. And now he's released. As you saw yesterday, some of my colleagues reported he's in Cincinnati visiting the Bengals. And there's an obvious connection there. First of all, the Bengals just made it to the Super Bowl, so they're further along than the Dolphins. Let's just be real. With a quarterback who's shown more signs of being elite than the Dolphins at this point, let's just be real. So if everything's even, then Bengals make more sense. And that being said, there's also the connection that Frank Pallet, who's the Bengals offensive line coach, was La'el's coach for the first 3 years in Dallas. So there's familiarity there. So it makes total sense why the Bengals would be his first visit. Now, that being said, if he leaves the building, doesn't get a deal done, then maybe the Dolphins are still in the mix there. Right now, you got to consider the Bengals the favorite there until he leaves the building. So there's definitely interest there. It's just harder because you're coming from a position where you're trying to convince people. You're not the Jags, but you're also not the Rams or the Bengals. So you're trying to convince people why they should believe if they truly want to win a Super Bowl, you're the spot to go to. So,
well, I mean, I know they made the Super Bowl, but it's still Mike Brown. It's still the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
They're still Mike Brown. And so they are dumb. They do dumb things. La'el Collins has knucklehead in him in a big-time way. So they might be willing to do or go into places that Miami isn't willing to do also. So that's also the way I've got to look at it, too, that with La'el Collins, it's not like Trent or with Teron Armstead. Those guys are pros overall. You know, Trent has the injury thing, and so does Teron Armstead. But they're not, character-wise, you're not really questioning them. Whereas with La'el, there are some doubts. And so maybe you're not willing to go to certain areas that Cincinnati's willing to go to. So I've got to look at it that way, too, because Greer's been kind of shrewd in the way he deals.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really hand a lot of money out. Jones got the money, but Byron Jones is a quality human being, like a super pro. So you knew that even if you paid him a little extra, you weren't getting any knucklehead there. So you weren't ever going to get the 2 a.m. call, hey, coach, I got arrested. So, you know, that kind of stuff. I just kind of think that maybe Cincinnati is also willing to go to a place that I don't think Miami is willing to go on the financing side.
I think you're looking at them trying to build a year in the first year of their head coach, and they're trying not to give out a lot of bad contracts. If you remember before the Brian Flores era when Mike Tannenbaum was here, they got in a lot of salary cap trouble because they were giving out bad contracts to veterans who were over the hill, and they were trying to attach that big name. A lot of times we get so obsessed with the big name, and it's easy. It's like, oh, this is the biggest name on the market. So if they don't get that name, it was a failure in free agency. So do you want to be the Jags, who the Jags every year spend $150 million in guaranteed money, and they're still the worst team in football?
Dolphins do that all the time too.
Exactly. So it's you know, I think there's winning March. It doesn't have a lot of value in my view. It has a lot of value in the everybody's going to praise you for a while. So if the Dolphins went out there and signed the 2 biggest offensive linemen on the market, then yeah, they would have got a lot of praise. But what if those guys don't work out? Then a year from now, they're going to say, why would you sign those guys? So I think that You're seeing them be active and aggressive on certain types of free agents. They haven't been swinging at the biggest fish in the market. The old saying for free agency is you're paying A money for B players, B money for C players. Like, you're always going to gauge up. So I think that's what you're seeing them. I think they still do add another offensive lineman, though. It may not end up being Lyell or Tyron. It may be somebody who's smaller name and people will still complain, but they're going to add, in my view, 2 new starters in free agency, Connor Williams and at least one other player. And so we just don't know who that other player is at this point.
By the way, KSDT wants to remind us, and you, Cameron, says, Cameron, consider yourself officially invited. This is what they put on the chat board. And it says, P.S. We have a Weston office. So if you want to stay in Broward. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
How about that? How far are you from Weston?
Probably like 20, 30 minutes, 20, 25 minutes, Okay,
so you're east? Is that what it is?
So I'm in West Hollywood.
Okay.
So I'm over by the Hard Rock Casino.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you're not that far. Okay.
Yeah, it's not bad. Trust me. I take trips to Miami on a semi regular basis. My dentist is still out there. My mechanic is still out there. I used to live there for 4 years, so I still end up going out there. I go to Wynwood from time to time as well. So I still make my trip.
Lived in Miami for 4 years?
Yeah, I lived down in Edgewater, right off of 19th and Biscayne. So that was when I first moved down here to cover the Dolphins for ESPN. Me and the wifey lived here in a condo. And so when we had the baby and she started being able to walk, we needed more space. So we did what most people out here do, move north and try to get more space.
Yeah. I don't blame you. That's just that's the way it goes. I'm with you there. The Davante Adams, I'm interested. I don't think it's a great contract. I think it's a terrible contract. He's 29 years old. Yeah, you might get a good year now, but I don't know the back end of that contract. Maybe even in a year or two. I don't know 30-something-year-old receivers that are tearing up the league. How many of those exist, by the way?
I mean, not a lot, but there's also not a lot of Davante Adams, right? So,
but I'm talking about something that never happens. I mean, Jerry Rice was like the last guy I saw going into his 30s. Hell, he almost got to his 40s.
True, but you saw T.O. play into his 30s and play well. You saw Chad Johnson play into his 30s and play well.
I don't know about play well.
You saw Randy Moss play into his 30s. So they're the different receivers, the ones who are truly different.
Notice how you talked about like 3 freaks.
Right, but Davante Adams to me is a freak. Davante Adams is a Hall of Famer. You talk about Hall of Famers differently.
Yeah, he is a Hall of Famer. I don't know if I put him in that Jerry Rice, Randy Moss.
Right. I mean,
what was the other one you mentioned? You mentioned one more nasty dude.
I mean, Randy Moss, T.O., Chad Johnson.
Yeah. Well, I don't like T.O.'s personality or anything. The athletic freak that T.O. was, there's no denying. Like he can still probably run a 4.4 right now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how freaky that guy is.
But the thing about Davante Adams' skill set that I think translates well is he's not a speed-based skill set. So speed guys translate poorly into their 30s. Because they get slower, like all of us. We move slower as we get older. But Davante Adams' skill set is that he's so smooth. He's great with the ball in the air. He's got great positioning. He's got great route running. He's got great ability to attack the football. All those things are going to translate well. And for his contract, you're paying him essentially for 3 years. He's 29. I feel comfortable paying a guy like that till 32. That's not a problem to me. If I'm paying him guaranteed money till he's 35, that's a different conversation. But 32, if I'm paying you 3 years, $25 million a year, $27 million a year for 3 years, and you're the best receiver in football, I'm confident with that. I think
if you get the third year, you're right. I don't know, man. I think they'll be lucky to get the second year. I really do. Man, once you hit 30, receivers just tend to just go downhill after that. Normally.
I hear you. Receivers. Yes, you're right. You're right. Normally, but I think Davante Adams will be different. And so they're betting on him being different. I think they're right. You think they're wrong. We're going to see. But for me, I look at the Raiders. You see all these AFC West teams making these moves. You can't just sit back there and say, we just going to take our whooping. They're just going to let us kick our butt every year. We got to make our moves. So they went and got Chandler Jones.
They're all going to just kick each other's ass.
Right. And it's just
nobody's going to dominate the division. So.
Right.
You're all
whoever's the
going to end up
last.
around 500. You're not really going to end up getting ahead as much. You know what I'm saying?
But they're going to
So
be battle tested. If they get in the playoffs, they're going to probably kill everybody else because they're
maybe.
the best team. So you look at, like I said, they went and got Chandler Jones, Davante Adams. These are all guys who are on the last maybe 2-3 years of their prime. And Chandler Jones might even be further along, but
Yeah.
they're clearly saying we're trying to win now. They're going to extend Derek Carr. People had questions. Are they going to trade him? No, this is a new regime with a new head coach and a new GM. And essentially, instead of rebuilding, instead of, starting this thing from scratch, they're saying, hey, we're going all in. We're going all in now. And, I see that y'all got Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and all these guys, and you're trying to be able to own this division, but we're not going out without some smoke. Russell Wilson now in Denver too. So I commend the Raiders. I still think they're probably the fourth best team in that division. But they're taking their swing. So I don't have any issue with it. I think we oversell draft picks a lot of times. And so I like the aggressiveness of teams. It doesn't work for every team. You have to be close, like the Rams were. But I do think that we give too much credit to draft picks and guys who are totally unproven versus veterans who have done it and been at the top of their game for a long time.
No, yeah, you're right. The thing is that you want to hit them because you're going to get them cheap for 4 or 5 years.
True.
And
Very much true.
Look at the Dolphins. They had a steal with Ogba now for 2 years.
Yep.
2 years.
But they didn't draft him. They found him in free agency.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. But that's kind of what football's all about. It's drafting Jalen Waddle and milking his ass for 5 years until you have to pay him. It's finding Ogba in free agency, and I don't have to pay him, 14. They're paying him more in 1 year than they had to pay him the last 2 years now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's
what I mean?
doubled his salary.
Right.
So, yeah, you're right. It has to be a balance. It's like baseball. I'm a baseball fan. So I'm watching the Phillies right now. And the Phillies have to spend in free agency. They just went and got Kyle Schwarber. They're supposed to be going to get another bat, Castellanos.
Didn't they do that a couple of years ago too? And
exactly. So stupid money, right? And the reason why they do that is because they have a terrible farm system and none of the young players work. They end up coming up and they suck and they can't develop them. So to compete, they end up having to sign all these big players and they still end up around 500, right? So that is the way they've gone about things. But guess what? Every offseason, they sign these players and I'm excited. I have hope until they crush it for me. So that's what the big name guys do. They give you hope, which is why Dolphins fans want their offensive tackle so they can hope that the offensive line is going to be fixed. Doesn't guarantee it's going to be fixed, but big names and money give you hope. So I think that's what you're seeing from a lot of teams.
Let's wrap it up.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Let's wrap it up with this. So from what I sense, you think the Dolphins have a better chance of getting one of these tackles that are left than the center that's left?
I think they value the tackle spot more than the center spot at this point. Okay. I think they do want to give Michael Dieter a chance to compete there. I could see them drafting another player there as well. I thought early on if some of the bigger names who were out there were going to be available, Ryan Jensen, some of those guys, then they may have been in the market for that. But I think they will spend more valuation on the tackle spot and think they can get by with an athletic center, whether it be Michael Dieter or a rookie. So, yes, I do think it may not be La'el Collins or Teron Armstead, guys, just being real with you, but I do think they find another guy to compete for them at tackle and probably start for them.
There he is, Cameron Wolfe, as always. Catch him twice a week here with our KSDT CPA, Miami Dolphins and NFL report. Cam, appreciate you as always, my friend. Thank you. Have a fantastic weekend.
Appreciate you. Go Cougs. They're playing tonight. You guys root for the Cougs. Do not root for the upset.
You got to root for the Canes is what you got to root for.
I'll take a Canes win too. I picked them to get a win in the bracket. Just one win though. I only gave them one win, but I gave them the win over USC.
I did the same thing. I didn't think they get. That's it. USC, and I don't even know if they win this one. To be honest,
they might not. They got a big. USC's got a big center there. That's a beast.
Yeah. UM better shoot lights out because they're not getting any rebounds.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure. And they're going to give up a lot of second chances, which is going to be tough. But I got them winning this one game. I don't have them winning the second game, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Let's hope let's hope I'm wrong and they can advance all the way to the Sweet 16. That would be absolutely amazing. Cam, have a fantastic weekend, my friend. Thank you.
Absolutely. You too, man.
You got it. There you go. Cameron Wolfe and our KSDT Miami Dolphins and NFL report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.